So today's discussion is going to be on the topic of group psychology, self-identification, and how the governing powers seek to use this to manipulate and divide the masses. How this is hurting not just our country, but humanity as a whole. Group psychology attempts to understand how an individual's behavior, thoughts, and emotions are changed when they become part of a larger group. People tend to form tribal groups based upon race, gender, class, nationality, religion, and whichever political party they affiliate with. The social group is a critical source of information about an individual identity. An individual's identity has two components: the personal identity and the social identity, or the collective self. One's personal identity can be defined by more individual qualities and attributes. However, in contrast, one's social identity is defined by his or her group membership and the general characteristics that define the group and differentiates it from others. We naturally make comparisons between our own groups and other groups, but we do not necessarily make objective comparisons. Instead, we tend to evaluate that are self-enhancing, emphasizing the positive qualities of our own group. For instance, how many times have you seen a Christian, when looking back at their history, ever remember or recall the Inquisition or the Salem witch hunts and persecutions, but rather would only look back to their own persecution? How many Democrats are quick to judge Republicans, for instance, for being racist, all the while when their servers get hacked, we find out that their outreach to Hispanics was called Operation Taco Bowl. Who's the racist? You know, we tend to look at all of the positives, or at least the perceived positives of our own group, without looking at the failings of our own side, and or without seeing the positives of the other. Edward Bernays, nephew of famed psychologist Sigmund Freud, became a pioneer in his own right in the field of psychology, group identity, and propaganda. He noted that the insights from the study of group psychology caught the attention of those in power who wanted to use it to expand their own control. To take a quote from his book Propaganda, and I quote, "The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, are tasted, formed, and our ideas suggested largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as smoothly functioning society. In almost every act, our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental process and social patterns of the masses. It is they who put the wires which control the public mind." As long as someone engages in group identification, their mind and behaviors can be changed by the enduring influence of the group psychology. Like that old saying goes, you can't fool all of the people all of the time, But if you fool the right ones, then the rest will fall behind, unquote. Here's why those in power encourage, study, and reinforce group identification. To quote Machiavelli, divide the many and weaken the force which was strong while it was united, end quote. So long as they can keep us separated, keep us divided, the few that are in power can remain. Ever wonder why they're encouraging social distancing? Locking you down in your own homes? To further quote Bernays, and I quote, each group considers its own standards ultimate and indisputable and tends to dismiss all contrary or different standards as indefensible, end quote. In other words, their own values and concepts and ideas are without fault. But God forbid an alternative thought or theory is presented to them, they refuse to hear. For instance, what's going on right now with all of these Black Lives Matter and Antifa protests. It's okay to burn down someone else's property and or business and destroy it if it's for a greater cause. That's what I seem to be hearing from the far left. However, especially if it's for the greater cause of social change. However, if other individuals, while sympathetic to actual police brutality, also love their community and do not want to see it destroyed, especially businesses and their property that had nothing to do with the issue at hand, and they seek to form their own militia to defend said property, even though it's not their property, but it's part of a community that they love, or care about, and are seeing political leaders and or the police department doing nothing to stop it, they'll take matters in their own hand simply to defend it. And if people from the rioters confront said defenders and someone ends up unfortunately harmed, it's the defender, according to the left, that is in the wrong. They have no right to be defending a property not theirs, or going outside of their own town to defend a property not theirs. Yet they have the right to go into a town not theirs, as it's been reported that as many as 80% of rioters who have been arrested aren't even from the towns in which they were accosting or arrested in. And that, regardless, they believe that they have the right to destroy property that is not theirs because of some perceived insurance will cover it all. And as if nothing ever happened, no loss of income, no increase in premiums. They'll justify their illegal activities for the greater good while condemning someone else doing something that they may not have a legal right to do, but again, they see a cause worth fighting for, they're branded the racist, and then vice versa. Truth be told, I have more in common with most working class and middle class white and Latino people than I do with most rich Black people. A lot of us are in the same boat and it's sinking, while these bougie people are riding comfortably in a luxury liner. We're all enduring the same failing and dumbed down public educational system where over 40% of all those who start freshman year will either drop out and or fail to make it to commencement within that 4-year period. Where here in the United States, no state is above 53% proficiency in any of the basic areas of reading, mathematics, and or science. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the average is roughly about 43% at best. Many other states hovering around 36% proficiency in math, reading, science. That's affecting, again, both black and whites alike, Latinos, Asians, middle and working class. We, as the proletarians, are also getting screwed by the politicians all the same. As Hillary Clinton would say, we, the proletarians, are getting the public position, while the richest 20% or richest 10%, I would even go that, I'll go that low, who are contributing tens of thousands of dollars to these political campaigns, are getting the private position, the true agenda, which seeks to reward the tens of thousands, in some case $1 million investment that the rich had invested in these candidates to begin with. Both black, white, Latino, and Asians in the working and the middle class are finding themselves working crazy hours, not knowing where the next meal is coming from, whether or not they'll have enough for retirement, not even enough in savings, God forbid, an emergency were to happen. You don't have to be black to be living like a slave in this country. And we're all falling captive to the slavery of debt. All the same, whether it just be medical bill debt, credit card debt, student loan debt. We need to free ourselves from these cages called labels that not only limit how we can acceptably think and or act, but also work to manipulate and divide us. So long as we fight to kick each other out of the little sinking boat that we're all in, we lose. And we also lose an opportunity to gain a better standard of living as a whole. I'm a human being. Simple as that. The only way I would ever go deeper than that is by saying I am a spiritual being having a very limited and short human experience. I refuse to be played as a political pawn in groupthink or manipulated and or have myself labeled in any particular group. Yes, my melanin is a little darker than most. Has nothing to do with who I am as an individual. I am free to love both hip hop and country music. I don't have to be any good at basketball or have rhythm. I am free to love Japanese manga and love meditating like a Buddhist. I'm free to like what I want to like, think how I want to think, and be critical of any information that comes to me. The truth is never on any one side. There's usually always two sides to a story, with the truth somewhere in the middle. Until we can grow past this tribalism of ethnicity, political persuasion, sexual orientation, religion, and gender, we will continue to be the divided states of America and just watch the pendulum swing from left to right every 2 years until eternity. Meanwhile, the governing powers are moving aggressively towards turning this world into a prison planet, the police state where we're all held captive. So that's just my thoughts and message for today. Tell me what you like in the comment section, and if you like what you just heard and want to continue to hear more, please hit the like button, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to help get this message out there. All right, thank you, and y'all have a great day. Peace.